Well, we are in the early stages of this Missouri governor's race heating up to replace Mike Parson coming up next year. And guy who's been exploring it for quite some time is State Senator Bill Eigel out of St. Charles County. He joins us on KCMO Talk Radio. It's always good to have him on. And it's that time of year, too, when you get to kind of see how people are doing on the fundraising side of things and what those numbers look like and kind of dig in on who exactly their donors are. So Bill Eigel's on KCMO. Bill, good morning. Thanks for joining us. I believe, you correct me if I'm wrong, you're still in this kind of exploratory phase, but how are you feeling right now after the second quarter just wrapped up here in the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, good morning, Pete. Thanks for having me. First of all, we feel great. We set out a bunch of metrics when we started the exploratory phase of the campaign of whether or not we were going to really make a go at becoming the next governor of the state of Missouri. And by every metric that we set, whether it's polling, whether it's number of donors, whether it's the folks that have been signing up on our website, we have by far exceeded all of those expectations. And our quarterly numbers for the quarter that you mentioned just recently ended, we had more than 41,000 individual donations come in to support our candidacy, not just in Missouri, but all over the country. And these are folks that are looking for, these strong conservative Republican leaders of respective states that are going to do all the things in campaign season or do all the things after campaign season that we promised during campaign season. So we brought in almost $800,000 to the campaign in one quarter, almost 3 times as much as Jay Ashcroft, and over 100 times the number of donors that Mike Kehoe got. So it really speaks to how far our message is resonating. In fact, I can tell you that right now there is not another campaign for governor of any state in the country, any state anywhere in the United States of America that had more donors this past quarter than mine did when we're talking about a Republican nomination anywhere in America. So that tells you how much our message is resonating. And because of that, this exploratory phase that we've been talking about, it's coming to an end in the next 30 to 60 days.
It is. So why not have it come to an end right now, right here on KCMO Talk Radio, Bill Eigel?
You'll be one of the first people to know on the day that exploratory campaign comes to an end. But right now, we are busy putting together all the infrastructure that's going to have one of the best campaigns I believe Missouri has ever going to see, because we're going to be talking about all the issues that people just hear about in campaign season. In fact, let's talk about one of those issues. I know folks in Kansas City right now are talking at length about property taxes and how property taxes have gone through the roof, assessments have gone through the roof, and the burden that's being borne by property owners in Kansas City is absolutely crushing. And it must be devastating for everybody in Kansas City to turn on their TVs in the morning and realize that the big red state of Texas just passed an $18 billion property tax because their governor, Greg Abbott, was willing to call their legislature in on a special session successively twice in a row, until that legislature passed one of the largest property tax cuts in state history. And I'm left to wonder, why aren't we seeing that kind of Republican leadership here in the state of Missouri? Well, it's because I believe that, unfortunately, and this breaks my heart to say it because I supported Mike Parson in his reelection, Mike Parson loves to spend government money. And he has grown government so much that the thought of passing massive tax cuts, particularly on something like property taxes, never even enters his mind. I'm here to tell you, in 2024, when I'm the next governor of the state of Missouri, all of that is going to change. And the Texases and the Tennessees and the Floridas of this country are going to be looking at the show me state for how we should manage our tax burden.
Well, that's certainly, you're hitting on a core issue, Bill Eigel, that is impacting hundreds of thousands of folks in the Kansas City area, most notably Jackson County. And they're sitting there with these assessments, and they're just crushing up 100, 200, 300%. A lot of those property taxes, as you well know, are coming from local municipalities and school boards and things like that. If you were governor, is there something that can be done right now with this Jackson County debacle that is taking place up here? Is there anything that you would like to see or that the state legislature could do, or is this ultimately a local issue that needs to be dealt with?
No, there's absolutely something the state legislature could do. The state is the entity that sets the assessment rate for property. So right now, for residential property, it's 19% assessed of market value. So the state can come in and actually lower that amount to bring immediate tax relief to the people of Jackson County. But let's be honest, it's not just Jackson County, it's the whole state of Missouri. Every one of our taxes that we're paying is too high right now. Every single one of them. And you and I and everybody that's listening to our voices right now in the state of Missouri, we have never sent more money to government at the federal, the state, at the local level combined. And yet I've never met anyone that, in spite of all that record amount of sacrifice, feels like they're getting more from government at all these different levels. So of all the problems I'm worried about, I'm certainly not worried about government getting a little bit less from us. And we need to start with property taxes and bring those down and cap those. And then we're going to get rid of personal property taxes because, I also don't feel like you should have to pay rent to the government on your car every December 1st just for owning that car that you can never quite own because you're renting it. And then we're going to start getting rid of the income taxes in this state so that we can compete with the Floridas and the Texases and the Tennessees of this country so that folks will start moving to Missouri instead of allowing our economy to continue to stagnate. So, yes, Governor Parson could call us into a special session right now before lunchtime to have us start working on this issue, and he could keep us in Jefferson City until we hammered out a deal. But that's not happening in Missouri. That is happening in the state of Texas and other areas of our country. We need that kind of leadership here because we actually send more Republicans to Jefferson City than those other big red states sent to their capitals.
Bill Eigel is joining us on KCMO. He is in the exploratory phase of running for governor. Now, state senator, by the way, from St. Charles County. He's joining us on KCMO. Bill, last week we had on Jay Ashcroft, and he was raving about this new poll that shows he's up 20 points in this Missouri governor's race. It has Jay Ashcroft at 34. It has Mike Kehoe, the lieutenant governor, at 14. It has you at 4%. So, if you do end this exploratory campaign in the next 30 to 60 days and you jump into this race, with all your small donations, it's an impressive number. But how do you claw your way up in these polls based on the fact that Jay Ashcroft is obviously very happy with what he claims is a 20-point lead?
Well, I tell you what, if you go back to 2016, Pete, I think Pete Kinder was very happy with a similar lead 13 months before the primary, and yet he came in last place in that primary for the Republican nomination for governor. I think we got to be really careful about polls that are 13 months in advance of when an election occurs, because we have just started getting out our message. And if you go by the metrics that we can track, which is the number of people that have signed up on my website from the state of Missouri, which is over 28,000 people, that's nearly a quarter of the households we will need to actually win the primary in next August. If you look at the number of people that are donating my campaign so that I can get my message out and talk about all these big red ideas that we want to do for the state of Missouri, we are blowing away the Jay Ashcrofts of the world, who has a message that I think is very stagnant. And I think the people of the state, they want a conservative warrior leader. I'm the only proven conservative in this race. You've got the proven conservative where I'm at, where you can look at my voting record, you can look at the issues I've championed, whether it's cutting taxes, whether it's getting rid of government, whether it's defending life. You can go with what I call the Jay Ashcroft lane, which is really just a name ID and a function of somebody's heard that name before, but when they find out the things that Jay has failed on when it comes to election integrity, not getting rid of the machines in our elections, detailing and spreading out the Zucker bucks that have gotten into our elections, not defending Missouri farmland, which we talk at length. Jay Ashcroft believes that we should sell hundreds of thousands of acres to foreign countries in this state. I'm the only guy that's saying we shouldn't sell 1 square inch of Missouri to anybody who's a foreign country or a foreign entity. And then you have, in the last lane, you have Mike Kehoe. Mike Kehoe, there's a reason we call him Tax Hike Mike down in Jefferson City. It's because he has sponsored and voted for more tax increases than one would normally expect from somebody running for the Republican nomination. So I think we've got a really clear path. And like we found out in 2016, folks are looking for that person that's going to be both a reckoning for the status quo that is stagnating our state here in Missouri, but also someone that's going to be the solution, that's going to implement those big red policy ideas that folks are getting tired of only being promised for in campaign season.
Well, we'll be following closely. 30 to 60-day timeline is what you heard here from Bill Eigel on when the exploratory campaign may come to an end. And Bill, we appreciate it. We're looking forward to staying in touch. It sounds like we'll be talking plenty more over the next 6 to 12 months. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks, Pete. Have a great morning. We'll talk soon.